ॐ ॐ ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ बोलिए श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ओम श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। Hari Om. We have now begun a new episode of these talks from the book A Manual of Self-Unfoldment by Swami Chinmaya. We just completed a very lovely small book called Hasten Slowly, which talks on many aspects of controlling the mind. The essence of Hasten Slowly is exhorting us to practice Brahma Vidya Abhyasa. Abhyasa means practice of resting the mind on the knowledge of the Brahman, the secret of quietening the waves of the mind. In self-unfoldment, a series of talks from Pujya Gurudevs has been compiled. It gives us a direct understanding of the many aspects of yoga, meditation, and understanding basically the nature of our personality and how to quieten the mind, the role of religion in bringing the mind to a state of quietude. So Gurudev says in chapter 1, discover the secret strength within you. It is a privilege of man to achieve greatness. Success should have been his habit. And yet we find millions upon millions of people suffering in their disorganized life, the agonies of failure. We are, success is our birthright. We have to succeed in whatever we do. But still we do not succeed. What is the reason? It is because we don't know some the key aspects of success lies within us, which we have not yet discovered. If we discover those aspects, if we understand those aspects and work with those aspects of our personality, then success is all ours at all times. The spiritual literature of the world, it is declaring this need not be the tragedy of the human race, and if the individual members know the art of diligently using their own abilities and efficiencies, we don't need to be a failure in life. We don't need to do the wrong things and suffer for them. We don't need to suffer so much as we do these days for whatever reason. It may be for the reason of health, it may be for the reason of lack of wealth, it may be for the reason of lack of calmness of mind. We are suffering in all fields in our life, which need not be the case if we have the right understanding and implement that way of life. So Vedanta says man is essentially perfect, but why do we always not experience that perfection in life? Why is it that we drop to levels of imperfection most of the times? Why is it? It is because we do not understand that we have the resources, the ability, the energy, and power of building up a supremely successful life for ourselves and for others in this world. And what is that secret which we do not know, that Vedanta and the Upanishads, they point out to? An individual has many talents, but yet he can be a miserable failure. Why is that? That person is successful who makes practical use of at least one great talent that he possesses. We have so many talents within us, but many of them are undiscovered, and we still keep looking out at the world and admiring all those people who are becoming successful, who are expressing their talents. Why is it that we are not able to become successful? Because we have not able to identify our talent, tap that talent, and work on that talent on a day-to-day basis. There is a very beautiful book called Strength Finder 2.0. It is from the Gallup polls, the people who bring about the Gallup polls. So there are some 34 points are there, which are our core strengths. And they say that you find out what are your core strengths and tap on those core strengths on a day to day basis. We do not remember them. Even if we know our core strengths, on a day to day basis, we don't remember them because the nature of the mind is such that it does not it does not remain on the points that will bring us total success at all times. The mind always keeps us on tenterhooks. It always keeps us thinking about our faults, about our problems, and it does not let us allow us to remind ourselves of our strengths. Because if we are very much aware of our strengths and we begin to work on our strengths on a day to day basis, if we are always remaining very efficient and alert and active, the mind has got no role to play anymore, which the mind is afraid at all times. So it keeps us thinking about our failures, it hides our strengths, it hides our capacities from us, and it makes us commit mistakes, and because of that, the mind thrives. So, to make us alert about this mind and work on our strengths, the Vedas show the way, the books of knowledge show the way, the rishis and the masters who speak out from these books of knowledge also show us the way. Our success doesn't depend on somebody. Whenever we fail, we keep saying it is because of this person, it is because of that object, or it is because of this situation that I failed. We never take the failure upon ourselves and say, I am fully responsible for my failure. But the books of knowledge, the Vedas, they say all our success entirely depends upon ourselves. Let us realize these fundamentals. What are the fundamentals of success that we are not aware of, and knowing which we can always be successful in all our endeavors in life? An intelligent choice of thought can transform the character pattern in us. The entire destiny of our life then lies in our own hands. What happens to me in my life is in my hands. There is nobody who is responsible for this. The choice of thought, a thought, whatever we experience as a situation, as a thought, as a situation, as an object, or a person is nothing but the thought in our mind. A thought can be changed. A thought springs from the feelings that we have, from the vasanas that we have, or rather, the thoughts generate the feelings, and the feelings in turn generate thoughts. This is a cycle of our thought patterns. If we are able to understand this, or we are able to reach at this, then we can change the destiny of our life. The destiny of our life is going to be one of success if we are able to understand this factor and work with it. So Puja Gurudev says, religion imparts the art of living by which each one discovers in himself the equipoise to stand up to life's situations, meeting efficiently the ever-changing world of challenges he has to meet. The challenges of the world are not the problem. The challenges are the world are meant to raise our levels of energy, to meet the world, to be aware of what is happening, and accordingly change our strategy of work to meet those challenges. That is what the challenges are meant for. but we always consider the challenges like as if they are inimical to us. We say, only for me these kind of problems come. The problems are coming only to awaken me to my own real nature, awaken me to my own true nature, and meet those challenges with the right methods and the right efficiency. You must cultivate a habit to get an insight into the great philosophy and maintain a spiritual curiosity to understand its scientific conclusions. So, our Upanishads and the Shastras have very scientifically um, arrived proofs for what happens in life. If this situation comes, why is it happening so? What should I do to manage this situation? It does not talk situation after situation, but it talks generally about life. And when I understand that, I can use that knowledge to meet any situation in my life to my advantage, to my victory, and to my success. There is no problem in the world that can mow you down if you are equanimous at all times. So, fundamentally, the whole thought is now coming down to equanimity of mind, which is called yoga. Yoga means the state of samadhi. Yuj is the word for meaning for yoga. The dhatu or the root word for yoga is yuj, and yuj refers to samadhi. Samadhi means everything is happening beautifully in this world right now. There is no problem, actually speaking. There is nothing that cannot be resolved. There's nothing that cannot be solved. If at all we experience a problem, it is only because of our unawareness, of our ignorance of how the problem came, what is the source of the problem, and how, in an unaware manner, we have allowed the problem to continue, and how still we remain unaware, because of which the problem is expanding itself in front of our eyes. If we know the secret that there is no problem that cannot be handled, and that as it is in this whole world, the whole universe is running so beautifully without even our participation. The sun is there in its place, the earth and the other planets are spinning around the sun, the moon is spinning around the earth, the whole solar system is spinning around several bigger solar systems, and that bigger solar system is spinning around a very big system. And so all these things are happening so beautifully day after day without our effort and without our participation. In the same way, whatever happens to us in our life is also happening as a result of this great spinning of this universe. And when we realize this, when we understand this, that we are a small part, a tiny speck of this spinning universe, of around what it is spinning, nobody can know. Nobody knows. The Shastras, the Upanishads point out the way to that source. And it is that source that we can realize. We can realize through our knowledge, through our understanding, and through our experience, and not by books, not by words, not by mere words, not by our sense organs. None of these can really show us the source, make us experience the source. The source is experienced by ourselves, within ourselves, in all reverence. And when this source is experienced, we get the source to our existence, and so nothing can be hidden from us from that point of time. Science has conquered nature, and man has gained mastery over the outer world because of his acquired knowledge. The secret of our strength is in our knowledge. Whatever we have achieved so far through science has been on the outer world, on the world of matter. Science has made inroads into the world of matter. It has conquered matter, and for good or for worse, it has applied that matter into bringing so many technological inventions and discoveries that are employed in our day to day life. The great rishis have emphatically asserted that a certain amount of knowledge of the inner spiritual constitution of man will give him more mastery over his own life. The attempt of the spiritual masters was to analyze man who comes in contact with the world outside. They found out what are the vehicles or instruments that constitute the experiences of life and how best they can all be controlled, purified, and readjusted so as to bring forth more and more success or happiness into each one's life. So, our problems are not because of what we have or what we don't have in the outer world. What we have in the outer world and our interactions with them are constantly forcing us to respond to the world. And it is in this response that our future experiences of life are taken care of. The problems are happening not because of what we get, but because of how we respond to what we get. And this is where our rishis, who have been working on our own personalities, our own individual human personalities, they have found out the ways by which how this man comes in contact with the world, how the sense organs are contacting the world, how the mind is contacting the world, how the intellect is contacting the world. And because of this contact of the world through the senses, the mind, and intellect, what is the process that is happening in our own system, and with what way we respond to what is happening in the world. This is where the changes can be brought in, and this is where we can ensure that we live a very happy life in future also, in this world, in this very lifetime. We don't need to be suffering. We don't need to be always complaining. We don't need to be guessing what is going to happen, how things are going to happen. We don't need to be ignorantly remaining without any charge. We can take complete charge of our life. We can take complete charge of the situations that are in our hands. We can take complete charge of the people, the personalities, and the objects that are around us and shape the way of life that we want to live. This is for understanding the world and living in tune with the world. Religion is a very scientific re-evaluation of life, and just as the scientists retire to their laboratories, the rishis also retire to the cool and silent valleys of the Himalayas and start evaluating the life of man. How did we get all these greatest treasures of the Upanishads and the books of yoga that talks about integration of mind? It is because these rishis, they spent quiet hours in meditation and coming out from within the greatest truths of existence, of how we can live our life, how can we can bring about the necessary changes so that we don't need to live in suffering, we don't need to live in poverty, we don't need to accept poverty as our condition, we don't need to accept suffering as this is what it's going to be. We can bring about a change. The only difference between the rishis and the scientists is the scientist takes the outer world as their field of investigation, and the rishis take their own inner world of experiences as the field of their search for truth. The scientists seek to understand what is the world, while the rishis seek to discover who or what is man. The scientists look at the world outside through the sense organs, they observe and they come to conclusions. The rishis close their eyes and look within, and in their seat of meditation, they understand what is the source of existence, who is man, what is his role here, why has he come here, what is his position in this great universe. All these things the rishis come to study, and they pass it on to us through the books of knowledge. Advaita has a unique distinction of having based itself on the total experience of man, the three states of waking, dream, and deep sleep. What is the time period for this study for the rishis? The time period is very simple. During the waking state, how we behave, during the dream state, how we behave, and during the deep sleep state, how we behave. This forms the time period for their study. Experiences can be one's own or that of another who is a reliable authority. The experiences that they come out is not anybody's experiences, it is their own experience or the experiences of the gurus and masters who have spent some considerable time and energy studying these thoughts and applying them in their lives and doing their sadhana. So, this is how we get to know from what the Shrutis or the Upanishads, they represent the experimental data gathered and conclusions arrived at by the generations of sages, the sciences of the spirit. Their theories and conclusions have been confirmed as true at least by 100 mystics in every century all over the world for the past 7,000 years or more. The 7,000 is only our understanding. When we say the history of the world itself goes to crores and crores according to our Vedas, according to our Vedanga, which is Jyotisha, which specifically calculates the history of this whole universe. The number itself goes on to so many lines of writing. Materialism versus the higher. So, what is materialism and what is higher living? Religion is a technique of perfect living, of gaining a better mastery over oneself. Religion is that secret process which brings forth an effective personality out of even a shattered man of despairs and disappointments. Arjuna was cured by the 18 discourses of the Bhagavad Gita. The critical condition of Arjuna in chapter 1 was when he was thoroughly confused about what he had to do, whether he needed to fight the war or whether he had to run away and do something else. And it was Krishna's conversation with Arjuna, quoted in the Mahabharata through the mouth of Vedavyasa, through the pen of Vedavyasa, that gives us the teaching of Shri Krishna, which we can apply in our life also to cure our own mind of all the confusions that it faces. Science aims at increasing the standard of living. Today, in terms of health, we have the ability to protect ourselves from many diseases. In terms of facilities in this whole world, man has been able to conquer the powers of nature and bring about many scientific equipment and data to know about the processes of nature, and thereby expand his living space, living style, and living comforts and all that. But yet, as the core of yoga says, in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, Matra sparshastu kaunteya, shitoshna sukha dukkadaha, agama payino nityaha, tam stitikshasva bharatam. O Arjuna, you think that you are feeling difficult or you're feeling comfortable or you're feeling hot or you're feeling cold or you're experiencing praise and censure because of the world outside. It is not because of the world outside. It is because it is a very great scientific truth that has been pointed out in the Bhagavad Gita. Why we experience so many things? It is because matraha sparshaha tu kaunteya, the five sense organs, they come in contact with the sense objects in this world. Matra sparshasta kaunteya, then they experience Shita, Ushna, Sukha, and Dukkha. Shita, Ushna means hot and cold. Sukha, Dukkha means experience of the mind, which is joy and sorrow. And in other verses, he says, praise and censure, mana, apamana. These experiences we feel because the sense organs come in contact with the sense objects in the world, and they come and go. Agamaha, apayinaha. They come, they go. Tam stitikshasva bharata. Protect, like you just put up with them. Don't keep talking and jumping over everything. If it is a little hot, oh my god, it is so hot, I don't know what to do. Can I switch on the AC or can I switch on the fan? Should I get a new air cooler? All these kind of conversations come because we are letting that experience of heat, which happens because our sense organ comes in contact with the atmosphere around us, and it is a temporary phenomenon. We let the temporary phenomenon affect our own thinking patterns, and that is why we experience those difficulties. It is not because of the heat, but it is because of the churning of the mind that happens, the disturbance of the mind that happens as an experience of this contact. These come and go. So just keep moving on in life. So, this kind of a knowledge of yoga, knowledge of how to be united with this world of change, is being given through our scriptures. The philosophers unveil with convincing logic that, in spite of the highest standard of living which may create for our community or nation, man cannot feel happy in his ambitions and live contented in relationships with others merely because he has plenty of food, clothing, shelter, and all other amenities of a peaceful and efficient national life. So, how much ever the country may provide to us, in our recent years' experience, we all know that whatever comforts we have, whatever great changes that may be brought in our society, still the mind keeps asking for changes. Still the mind keeps hankering for changes. We are never satisfied with whatever we get. That is the nature of the mind. So, the secret to our happiness is not in increasing the comforts or not in the scientific advancements of the society, of the country, and of the world. The secret of our happiness lies in how much we are able to calibrate our mind, how much we are able to control our mind, how much we are able to maintain a balance in our mind at all times. Man is an animal, an intelligent animal, but he has a highly developed psychological being, unlike other animals. If he is just remaining as an animal, he just needs to eat, sleep, and mate, and his work is over. But man is not stopping with that. He has got a psychological being. He wants emotional satisfaction. And being an intellectual, he is restless and impatient with all imperfections. He doesn't want, if there's some garbage outside, he wants that to be changed. If there is some corruption in society, he wants it to be organized. He wants everything to be proper, prim and proper. He is not merely a physical structure consisting of his body. He has a mind and intellect. So, in all these ways, we are a very exclusive species of human beings. And so, to live a very happy life, it is not important that we just live like animals, we just eat and sleep. We have to have the knowledge about how we are able to live in tune with this world, and that knowledge is produced, given to us by our rishis in our scriptures. That knowledge is of the self, that knowledge is of the yoga of Brahma Vidya, being in tune with that knowledge of Brahma Vidya or the knowledge of Vedanta. And with this knowledge, we will be able to tide over all the crises that we face, all the challenges that we face in our day to day life. And with this knowledge, we will be able to achieve that quietude of mind, achieve that sense of responsibility that we are responsible for whatever we see and whatever we experience in this universe. It is not that this person or that person is responsible. All our problems actually stem from this whole abdication of our responsibility. When we take up responsibility, we are in charge for what is happening around us. When we drop all our sense of responsibility, we cannot do anything about what is happening, and we can only complain and crib and further cause disturbance to our mind by this cribbing and complaining. So, let us take responsibility for our life. Let us learn the Shastras through these talks from self unfoldment. Let us go through the works of Gurudev, Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda ji, and see what he has to say about quietening the mind, about the various practices that we can take up, and how to achieve the goal of life in the most beautiful manner, in the most cheerful manner, in the happiest way possible. ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु, सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु, सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्, असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसोर्मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। बोलिए श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। हरि।